So in reality, there's nothing wrong with you. The only thing that's wrong is you have a belief that you think there's something wrong with you. And so this is something I've seen throughout my life and many of the people that I've helped. Specifically, when I was told I had ADHD, I thought there was something wrong with me because I was told you're not cleanly, you're disorganized, you're messy, you can't focus. And so I believed that, and I became that label because I attach it to my identity because that's who I am. And so the same thing with depression, same thing with anxiety. I'm a depressed person, I have anxiety, I have pain, I have all these things. But in reality, all these problems, they stem from the mind. And they stem from a belief. And so whenever we filter our energy, our awareness through a negative belief system, we're going to feel negative emotions. And so specifically, I was talking to one of my students yesterday, and she was going through this transformation. She's working this job, and she's just like, I don't feel happy, Austin. And we got down to the root of it. And the root of it was that she has a belief that when things are going well, that when I'm happy, there's always something that goes wrong. And with this specific belief, she's filtering her energy through this belief. And so when those good times are happening, her subconscious mind is looking for that negative aspect to make her unhappy. And so once we shine light on that belief, it becomes conscious. Because before she was unconscious of it. It was just something that she was stating, and it was something that I heard from her language that she held this belief. Because her original problem is that she's anxious and a lot of times that she's unhappy. And that's why she came to me. And so, specifically with this case, now that we shined light on the specific belief, now we can work with it. So this requires releasing the belief. And so once we're conscious of it, it doesn't just mean that the belief just magically goes away. Because we are pattern beings. We live out of patterns. Everything we do is a pattern. Everything we do is out of our subconscious mind. And so if we have a belief and we've been running our life from that belief, our subconscious mind, our reticular activating system, which is a part of our brain, is going to be looking for specific circumstances in the event of this belief. When there's something good that's going on, when I'm happy, when everything's going good, there's something bad that's going to happen. And so this becomes a habit. And so we have to release this habit. And so like I talk about in a lot of the other videos, is we have to choose a new path. And so for her case scenario, we had to breathe that belief out. Because every belief, it has at least 3 specific instances in order to make it a belief. Because a belief is like a table. It needs at least 3 legs to stand. 3 experiences, 3 stories, and then we hold that belief. So we had to tap into that belief, tap into that emotion where she was feeling like every time everything is going good, something bad happens. And so we had to tap into that through breath work. Because we had to release the emotions behind those stories that led her to that belief. And we don't exactly have to know what the exact story is, because it's all surrounded by energy and significance that we hold towards something. And the power we give that is what's reflected back into her life. And so she was unconsciously giving those scenarios that when everything is good, something bad happens, because that's something that she's experienced. Not to say it's false or true, but when you have a belief that's preventing you from living in the current moment, that's taking you out of the current moment, and you're afraid, it means you're filtering that energy through a negative belief system. And so that's something that has to be released in order to gain peace. And so we were able to do a breathwork session, and she was able to release those emotions surrounding this belief. And that's only one of the parts that we have to do. As I talked in about the earlier people-pleasing video, is all right, we can release these beliefs, we can release these emotions, but then we have to take a new path. Because if we just constantly go down the same path, we're going to get the same results. And so when she's in a situation now, as compared to before, when everything is going good, she focuses on how grateful and how happy she is that everything is going well for her. And from this starts to shift, because our habits are built by our actions. And so what we repeatedly do defines us. And so how we repeatedly act and react to a situation is what's going to define us. It's our actions. But first, our actions start from our mind. And we have to be conscious of what we're changing. Because if we're not conscious of what we're changing, then we're just kind of walking through a maze, kind of like I am now. You don't really know where you're going. You're just kind of walking and hope you get somewhere that's good. That's what happens when there's no guides. Just got to figure it out yourself. Yeah, the site is actually super beautiful. This is pre-Inca architecture. This is supposedly dated back to 500 AD. But a lot of the local people here say it's a lot earlier. They think it's thousands and thousands of years old. But who knows? But this place is absolutely massive. We'll see later in this video. But yeah, back to what I was saying before. I thought there was something wrong with me. And then it showed up in my world. And so I believed what those other people told me. I believed their label that they casted upon me. And so labels carry a specific identity. And so if we attach ourselves to a label, we become that thing. And so there's obviously good labels and bad labels. Because there's labels that can empower us, and there's labels that can disempower us. And so it doesn't make sense to attach your identity, to attach yourself to a negative label. Because if we do that, we're going to have negative experiences. And for years and years and years, I suffered from ADHD, and now I'm free from it. Why? First of all, I freed myself of attaching myself to that identity, to that label. And so now I'm an extremely clean person. I'm extremely organized. I'm extremely focused in what I do. You know, before I was extremely bad at focusing. When I get off the medication, after taking them for so many years, I literally couldn't even sit down and read a book without just getting distracted. And so we are whatever we tell ourselves. And so these labels are mantras. And so whatever we repeat to ourselves is like an affirmation. Oh, I'm bad at this thing because I have ADHD and I can't focus, or I have anxiety, or oh, I have depression, or I have pain, or whatever it is. We are carrying that energy with us, and it is showing up in our life because we are propagating the story. We are putting water and energy on the story, and so it grows. And so the longer you've gone down a path, the longer you've gone with an identity, the harder it is to change, to be quite frank. It took me 6 years to become free of all the disorders, all the medications. But now I can help people do it way faster. And, somebody commented to me yesterday, it's so bad that you had to go through that, being diagnosed ADHD, age 6, medication for 18 years, depression medication, 8 to 10 years, anxiety medication, pain medication, all those different things. And so I was able to free myself from those. And so the first thing we have to do is detach ourselves from the identities and labels that we've been given. Because a lot of the times society will come in and tell us who we are and tell us who you are. And if you buy into those labels, you're not going to have a good life. Because when I was depressed, taking medications for depression, ADHD, my life was a mess. It was literally the biggest mess. Literally. Everything was just super difficult. Being able to do what I wanted, I just couldn't do it because I was trapped in my own labels. And so that's the main aspect in this, because everything starts from the mind. People don't realize that everything that we see around us comes from the mind. These walls were originally a thought in somebody's mind, and now they're here in front of us. Literally everything, the phone that I'm holding, the AirPods that I'm wearing, headphones rather, everything first started as an idea in somebody's mind. And so these labels that we believe and attach to our identity, they show up in our real life as well. And it's very apparent. And so it's also a good thing and it's also a bad thing. Because like I said before, they can be empowering labels. They can be labels that you can use to empower yourself. Like saying, I'm a healthy person. That's an example. It's a really good one. If that becomes our identity, we start to shift what we're doing in terms of what we're eating, exercising, everything. But all of this is just a game of the mind. And so that's why I'm super, super careful on what I consume today. And this isn't even just food, but mainly information. Because a lot of times information that you consume, a lot of times it goes straight into your subconscious. And so it starts to work on us without even our knowledge sometimes. If you're in a theta wave state, that information is going to go straight to your subconscious, like you're being programmed. And that's essentially what TV is, what movies are. And so, I'm super, super cognizant and conscious about what I'm consuming. because what we're consuming has the ability to change our self-concept. And so the key, and this is why it's so good as well, because for me, I can tell what a person's identity is by talking to them. I can tell what their story is by just listening to them. And so a lot of times our story is just something that we're constantly repeating to other people or constantly thinking. And so an exercise that you can do is you can ask yourself, what am I constantly thinking about? And what am I constantly telling other people? Is it a story that's empowering or disempowering? Because you are the director of your own movie. You can choose what story you're going to tell. And what story you tell is what's going to show up in your life. You know, I told myself this morning, I'm going to come to this site of ruins. And so I believe that. And so now I'm here. And it's that simple. And you might say, Austin, well, there's other beliefs, they're more complex, there's other situations. I understand that. But in reality, as long as we cling onto a label, as long as we cling onto an identity that's not empowering, because, oh, the doctor told me I have this. The doctor told me I had ADHD. He told me I have depression. He told me anxiety. Here, take this pill. You know, treat the symptoms, not the root cause. And so a lot of these aspects are just because we have faulty beliefs. And so there's other aspects clearly with trauma, you know, that I've even dealt with, that I had to release to get over my depression. And it wasn't just a belief. That's totally true. I've experienced that, and I've helped other people with that as well. Look at what we have here. This looks like an ancient well or crypt or something. Oh, nice. A Coca-Cola can. How beautiful. It's not just beautiful. And so, you know, our body is always telling us what's wrong too. And I'm going off on this tangent because I was just talking about trauma. Because trauma is something that could have been physical, but now it's emotional. And then it can also be in the body as well. And so it can still be physical. And so, but a lot of times it only shows up in our nervous system, our energetic body. And so a lot of times we are suffering from something that happened to us previously. And so in a lot of these cases, we have to do more intense work, which involves specific body postures with breathing and releasing these emotions from the body. And that's what causes these traumas to release, because it's stored energy. And, you know, I talked about this in the podcast that I was on a month ago, and he was asking me about the nervous system and traumas, how we release them. And it's really akin to our body, to our nervous system, is akin to a rubber band. Because you can stretch the rubber band, and now that rubber band has potential energy in it. Because if you let it go, it's going to snap. And so the same aspect with traumatic events or traumatic circumstances. We have something that happens to us, and so our nervous system, our energetic body, absorbs this trauma. But if we don't fully process this trauma, it's going to stay in our body. And so all this trauma will start to build up. And when all this trauma starts to build up, it'll show not only in our experiences, but in our physical body. And based on what the specific trauma was, based on what the specific experience was, based on the specific emotional imbalances that have to deal with it as well, it'll show up in a certain aspect of your body. So I can look at somebody and they can tell me they have pain in a specific area of their body, and I have a good idea, more or less, on where it comes from, if it's a pain that's actually showing up in their body. But a lot of times it doesn't get to that point, because it only shows up in the body when it's past the emotional body, the energetic body, and then it shows up in the physical body. And that's when the issue is a little bit more extreme. And that's what takes a little bit more work. Like I was saying, we have to get in certain positions. We have to do certain types of breathing. We have to get in certain types of meditations in order to release those aspects of us. But if it's just emotional, it's much easier. It's much, much easier. Because then it's just some simple breathing. And it's really not that difficult. People think it is, but it's not. You know, I was dealing with this one woman, and she's had anxiety for the past 10 years. 10 years she's had anxiety. And so literally just after 3 weeks, I asked her, so what is your anxiety on a scale of 1 to 10? Before it was like a 9. And she's like, it's a 2. So absolutely life-changing. And this is all done through simple breathing and meditating. Because a lot of us, we just have to do something different. Because if we keep going down the same old road, we're going to get the same old answers. And so, you know, I have so many people that come to me and they say to me, you know, I've been to so many doctors, I've been to so many different things, I've been to so many different treatments, and I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't figure it out. And usually, it's not something that takes more than 3 months, from what I've seen, from what I've dealt with. Because, you know, one thing that I've learned in life, and this is something I've found to be true in all aspects of life, is specifically, if you find yourself struggling to overcome something, struggling to achieve something, or just struggling in general, it usually means that there's another move on the chessboard that you're not seeing. And so on this chessboard of life, there's usually another option that we're not aware of. And so when we find and choose that option, all our struggles go away. And so that's the beauty about this alternative type of treatment, is people that are struggling, and they've been struggling for years, and they've been trying to fix it, they've been trying to release, trying to let go, trying to get rid of pain, trying to get rid of anxiety, all these different things, is because the moves are wrong. There's an easier move. And a lot of times it's just because we haven't been told about it. And specifically, the one with the labels is so powerful. Specifically, that instance is so powerful because whatever we attach ourselves to, we become that. You know, I call myself an explorer because I just like to go out and explore random places on my own because I love history, I love learning about the past. I love this stuff. And so I find myself doing this pretty much almost every day, especially when I'm in a place like this, when there's so much wealth of knowledge and culture and history here that can be explored. And there's so much left to be explored. And so the key with this is there's nothing wrong with you. You might have been told by your mom, your dad, your family members, your friends, your teachers, your doctors, oh, there's something wrong with you. Okay, yes, there might be something wrong with my physical body But your true self, your higher self, your soul, there's nothing wrong with you. And we're literally just a projection of our mind. How our body shows up, what we look like, everything. What we're living, where we're living, how we're living, it's all a reflection of how we think and what we attach ourselves to. So if you find yourself constantly in a state of a negative emotions, it probably means you have a disempowering belief. And that's the key. It's okay, why do I believe this specific thing? Is the person who told me this about me and then I bought into it, do they have my best interest at heart? Because a lot of us, we might have people around us and they might tell us something out of the goodness of their own heart, and they might try to say it with the best intentions. But if we attach ourselves to that specific thing that they say, we start to believe it. Even if it's super disempowering or empowering, whatever the case is, we can attach ourselves to anything. So the key is to ask, what is my story? What am I constantly thinking? What am I telling other people? What is constantly showing up in my life? Because that's how you start to work backwards. You start to work backwards by analyzing what's showing up in your life. And you can only do that by tuning your awareness inward. By becoming aware of the patterns, the cycles, the results. And this is something that must be done, especially if you're on a path to really make a difference or to achieve something or whatever you might be doing. Because a life without negative emotions, without all these negative things weighing down on us, frees us. And it's not to say negative emotions are bad, because they're not. They're neutral. Negative emotions are negative emotions. Sadness is just sadness. But the key is realizing that these emotions are a signal. It's a signal to tell us there's something that we have to look at. So start to see your negative emotions as signals. Okay, I feel sad in this experience. Okay, what about this experience is making me sad? What belief could I possibly hold that's causing me to feel a negative emotion? And so usually negative emotions become our best tools because we can start to analyze what's going wrong. I hope everybody has an extremely blessed day. Peace out.